Welcome back. Today we're going to go over the very popular Delci. And I'm late to the Delci party, and you've probably watched a million reviews of the Delci and already know that it is a very solid one dynamic driver. I'm not going to say anything different than it is still a very solid one dynamic driver. Really good choice. $59. It's kind of hard to go wrong with this one. And we'll talk about some of the tuning things to it and why it's a little bit different than some of the other sets, and maybe why you would pick up this one over the other ones. But I think everyone has covered a lot of what's going on. So I wanted to kind of approach it more from if you're new to the hobby, as opposed to you already have a large pile of one dynamic driver sets and why you would want this one. But $59, you do get a very nice case. You do get a very nice set of metal shells, a very nice kind of a dual color, dark copper, lighter copper cable. Very nice, 3.5 millimeters. I think they got the cable right, the accessories right, packaging right. All of that is kind of perfectly right. So I happen to read too much of Reddit lately, and I know that people tend to start off in the hobby a lot with Chew or Chew 2, or they try to decide between the two. And here we can kind of look at where Delci actually lies in between the two. And starting with Chew 1, the original one was very much kind of signified or kicked off, or even was at the beginning of the Harman craze, right? The leaner, more energetic Harman style sets. That is exactly what Chew 1 was. So a lighter bass shelf, which is this one in the blue, it actually almost approaches the Harman target kind of down here. So this is a leaner mid bass, kind of lighter sub bass, leaner mid bass, and more energetic upper mid, which gives you these more energetic female vocals. Not a lot of bass to get in the way. This is for people who aren't really into bassy styles, bassy genres of music. They're more interested in what happens here in the female vocals and the instruments up here. That's what Chew 1 was basically aimed towards, and what most of the Harman style sets are aimed at. So Chew 2 in the green almost went for a more general appealing, bassier version, a warmer version of what Chew 1 did. So, as I just said, this is a lighter bass, a leaner, more energetic. Both of these, all that kind of combines into a thinner style sound. So Chew 2 attempted to add some body to it, to add some thickness to that style, make it more general appealing to more music genres that weren't always interested in higher female vocals. So they added more bass here, and then kind of kept, just added a little bit here because they added more here. So this is a more bass, more treble style tuning, and that's sort of the difference between the two. If you don't care as much about bass, then Chew 1 is probably going to be your thing. Chew 2, if you're into popular styles of music, male and female vocals, drums, bass, things that have some action out here, that is going to be your Chew 2. So with Delci, you can kind of see they almost split the difference here. So you're still getting a cleaner mid bass, but still plenty of rumble out here in the sub bass. A really nice glide combination of sub bass to mid bass. I think they got that done really well. And here is sort of the major difference between where the Chews are versus where Delci is. And we'll talk about the other sets that actually do the same. So you can kind of see where Delci cuts over earlier and lower. So that is a less energetic female vocal, less energetic things that happen right here in the upper mids with instruments, and maybe you're into rock or electric guitars. Having just a lower version of treble here that cuts across at a lower level than what Chew did, that's a little bit easier on your ears, less fatiguing, less thin. This is you end up with a more bodied or richer sound because you still have plenty of bass here, but you don't have the upper mid that's kind of overbearing over this. So instead of having a lot of brightness here, trying to get, overshadowing the mid bass over here, you now have a lower, more relaxed version of upper mids here. And that pairs well with the bass level that they did here. Really nice balance that Delci pulled off here. And again, we'll talk about other sets that actually pull off a similar tuning, but that is the gist of it. Delci is just sort of in between the two, not quite as bassy as Chew 2, but still has enough warmth, and you combine that with a much smoother treble. So if you're into really the sharper, high energy female vocals, the Chews are going to be a little bit better for you. If that isn't of interest to you and you like a more relaxed, a more chill version of music, then you're going to definitely be looking at the Delci style tunings. So let's kind of jump into it there and say, if you don't listen to anything else here, I would say Delci is the latest member of the Warm and Smooth Club. The Blonde BL03 is almost the father of all of these sets and that signature. It has lots of kids, Voodoo, Blonde Z300, KZ's EDA Balance, Timsaw, Kai, CRA Plus. Lots of sets follow this same style tuning with this warmer style on the left and more relaxed style treble. Those characteristics on these sets, warmer, smoother, richer, bodied, relaxed, chill, all those words that I already said. Characteristics not found in these sets: cold, analytical, thin, fatiguing, overenergetic. Airy is sort of an iffy one on these sets. But let's look at what those sets look like. And again, you can kind of see the same exact characteristics. So pretty much a bass boosted from the Harman target. So whether it's more sub bass, like Blonde BL03 was more and more, it had more sub bass, more mid bass. It was a lot of bass. And then you saw the more modern versions where they took that level down. So a more refined version, a lesser version of sub bass and mid bass, just to clean things up, work with more tighter drivers. So a very similar shape and still bass boosted over the Harman target, but a little bit more refined, a little bit more fidelity to it. And then again, as I said, this cut over a little bit earlier and a little bit lower from the Harman target. You can see the Harman target poking out right there. All of these sets do the same exact cut over, whether it's within 1 or 2 dB of each other. But this earlier, lower is just more relaxed, no shout. There's less fatigue, less thinness, more relaxed, chill, and then you kind of arc over with the Harman target like everything else. So again, lots of sets hit the same exact target. Blonde was one of the first to do it, one of the most popular sets ever. It's no wonder why Delci is going to be a popular set and a solid pick, because it follows a signature that is very popular with lots and lots of genres of music, just not the ones that focus on the high energy female vocals. Those are probably more of your standard Harman standards, which will be less mid bass and more upper mids there. So quick overview of what was going on there. So this one's kind of, I'll call it a warm V. It's a modern take on a BL03, like I said. They kind of refined the bass shelf and put a nicer driver on it. $59, metal shells. I think Blonde BL03 is still an amazing set. This is kind of a nicer set as well. Bass, again, a bit more sub bass energy than mid bass. This presents as a cleaner version, unless you have more sub bass, and then in the track that'll be a little bit boomier in the background. But definitely this style trades a little bit of that impact in the mid bass for more rumble, kind of pushed out the energy out into the sub bass. The mid bass, not the opposite of Harman, but where Harman was shifted up range with energetic upper mids, the Smooth crew is shifted lower, grounded and bodied. Upper mids are relaxed and non-shouty and chill. So what I mean by that is, so Harman style, if you follow the Harman target, you end up with a lot of emphasis right here. In this style, more relaxed, this emphasis kind of shifts kind of over here. It's pretty much balanced, but you do get a lot of warmth and a lot of smoothness, kind of a lot of bassiness. So it's kind of not quite in the middle, but it's shifted a little bit lower. It's kind of grounded down over here as opposed to shifted higher over here. So kind of a flavoring to the sound as opposed to anything hardcore quantifiable there. And so treble, again, this relaxed mode where the lower has more energy than the upper. If you are an airhead, warm and smooth, it's not really going to be your thing. This is very much a lower treble style set. This is really the hardest part to get right on this tuning, so it doesn't come off too dark or too constrained, not enough dynamics. That top end dynamics is really tough on a one dynamic driver, and then tougher on this style tuning. And you can kind of see where Delci does it. It actually rolls off. So Delci, again, is in the red. So this lower mid, it still has some energy here, kind of cuts over, and then it basically just rolls off, with the target. So it doesn't have as much upper energy as the chews do. They tend to poke a little bit more out there. That sounds a little bit more spacious, a little bit more airy. And then I would say Delci is more of a relaxed, no fatigue, make everything kind of roll off in a natural way. That's exactly what that one did. So stage, there is this delicate balance between sub bass and the amount of air on stage that can be heard. The more sub bass you have, the more the mids start to close in and the stage pulls inward. So, I'll just kind of talk about the EQ. What I would say to do, this is sort of how I listen to Delci. So roll off the sub bass just a little bit. And I wouldn't say that there is too much sub bass on Delci. What I will say that there's just a little bit too much for the amount of air and upper treble that they used. So I do think, and if we look at these kind of side by side, so Delci in the red, this one hits about 10 dB, and in the sub bass, that's like a lot of sub bass, and you can kind of convey rumble and sub bass extension without that much if you just dip it down to 3 at the most. This is probably overemphasized. It's probably at 3, but it could probably be closer to 2, and I think that would be perfectly fine. But you just want to bring down the sub bass a hair. That will make the upper treble more audible, more present. That will actually give the mids a more open feel to it. It'll actually give the stage a more open feel to it, a bigger feel to it. It's just the interplay between the amount of sub bass in your track and the amount of air that you hear and the openness through the mids and that top end little bit to the treble. These two play together, and they just added, slightly too much. I wouldn't say there's too much sub bass in Delci. I would just say there's probably too much for the amount of upper treble and the way they rolled it off. So quick EQ if you just want to clean up a couple things, and I would definitely try it if you have a Delci. It's kind of an interesting experiment to see if you can actually tell the difference between what happens when you just tilt down the sub bass just a little bit to what happens to the other frequencies, the mids and the treble, when you do that one change. And you don't even have to actually hear it in the sub bass. You'll actually hear it through the mids and the treble, which is actually pretty cool. So I would highly suggest that. So again, thank you guys again for tuning in, and I will see you next time.